Absolutely. Be sure to check our part out too now. We sure appreciate it. He's the best. I call him boss.
I love that.
It's time to chat. It's time to mingle. It's time to see what everyone's drinking. It's time to chat. It's time to mingle. It's time to see what everyone's drinking. Until we all lose connection.
The winds of time blow forever, shaping our lives like the sand in the desert. Ain't nowhere to run, sure ain't nowhere to hide from the winds of time. I feel the weight of the world on my shoulders, like a stone on the bottom of the sea. Ain't nowhere to run, sure ain't nowhere to hide from the winds of time. It keeps blowing, the winds of time. You know darkness surrounds us like a storm in the distance, but freedom shines like a beacon in the night. Still nowhere to run, still nowhere to hide from the winds of time. Try to run forever, you'll try to hide forever from the winds of time. The winds of time.
Hi, this is Mike Aiken. This is Amy Aiken.
Thanks for tuning in to the Boston Chris Show.
Hey guys, welcome to another fabulous episode of the Boss and Chris Show with yours truly, Boss and Chris. And we have a huge treat for y'all this week if you are tuning in. Me and my assistant traveled all the way to Arlington, Texas to visit with Bubba Keith and Mike Sauce, a.k.a. Bubba With Sauce. We hung out with them in Mike's studio/shop. And boy, we talked about a lot of stuff. They have over or close to 120 combined years in the music industry between the two of them. Now, Bubba Keith, of course, is a prominent frontman from many different bands over the years, including the James Gang, England Dan and John Ford Coley, Point Blank, the G's, Uncle Tom. There was just so many different bands that Bubba Keith was a member of, and we get into all of those bands today. And of course, I'd be remiss without mentioning that Mike Sauce was in the first Rush band. Not the Hall of Fame Rush, but they were Rush before Rush was Rush. And you guys are going to hear a fabulous story about how Rush met Rush. It was kind of like a Scooby-Doo episode, but pretty funny story there. Also, of course, they changed their name to Stark Raven. Lots of stuff to talk to with Mike. We talk about their upbringing, where they were born, how they were raised, the effect that their parents had on them, their musical journey, their songwriting process, how they keep so passionate even well into their 70s, and of course gigging at their age now, plus their brand new project and brand new album, The Winds of Time, with from Bubba With Sauce. Man, we got into it all, and I can't wait to show it to y'all. And there's 2 live performances here on the show as well. So make sure you sit back, relax, enjoy the show, and let's get into it. All right, so we're here in Arlington, Texas. This is the Boston Chris podcast mobile version, I guess.
Yeah.
And we have conjured up a Bubba Keith and a Mike Sauce here in Mike's studio. I guess that's probably why he's here. But man, lots of mutual friends, a lot of years that I've been on the peripheral of what you guys do. It's such an honor to meet you guys and be able to do this.
We feel the same way.
Thank you very much. And so I always ask a question as part of my theme song, and it kind of breaks the ice a little bit. And that's simply, what are your favorite drinks right now? What have you guys been drinking? Alcoholic or not?
Neither one of us drink alcohol.
Okay.
I've kind of turned on to like a chamomile with a little bit of manuka honey,
Okay.
and some ginger root and a few things like that. More like a health kind of stuff,
Mhm.
you know?
He's very strange. I just drink water and iced tea.
Hey, I don't call that strange. I call that endorsement opportunity. Right? Absolutely. So we're blessed. They're going to play some songs for us. One is part of their new project, which is called Bubba With Sauce, which I love, by the way. It's just, I can't wait to tell the story of how that hit them, because that had to be hilarious just to be in the room when that happened. But the first song is part of the new record, The Winds of Time, right? It's called
right.
I Tried.
That's right.
Tell us about the song.
Well, you know, normally we don't really have like a complete format or thing we do every time. A lot of times we'll come in and we'll say a sentence or something, and the song's supposed to happen. A lot of times Mike brings in the chord progressions and changes stuff, and then we start to work on it. But with this one, we kind of felt like we wanted to tell a song about a guy that just can't seem to get a break.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's tried and he's tried and he's tried. He's tried to meet girls. He's tried to do stuff. And anyways.
Yeah, I started off this, I was sitting at home just playing my guitar and noodling around, you know, and I came up with this little riff. I thought, well, that's interesting. So I kind of got chord progression together and got the kind of come up with a little bit of a melody, and in a part of the song I didn't have the verses, I just had kind of a chorus. And originally we had ooze there, you remember?
Did we really?
That's right. It was ooze. We weren't.
I'm sure glad we got one of those.
Yeah.
Wow.
But anyway, so it was just a concept, you know, and then we came to Bubba and I get together here quite a bit, and we just go into the control room, and that's where we write all the songs.
So it's melodic first, lyrical second.
You don't really know. I mean, the thing about it is, like I said, sometimes the vocals come first, sometimes the words come 1st, sometimes the music comes first. And with this song, we kind of want to kind of touch kind of in between like a honky tonk and some Americana.
Right.
About this poor fella that just can't
Poor guy.
It's a story song.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Sad story, but kind of.
Hey, sad stories are stories, and sometimes those are the ones that resonate the most.
Yes, sir.
Most of our songs have a general story involved. I mean, it starts somewhere and ends somewhere else, and it's always about, experience or an event or just life in general. I mean, these days life is difficult enough, we got lots of information out there to work with.
We sure do.
Absolutely. A lot of life experience as well, I imagine.
Well, sure,
A few.
of course, he and I, we were pretty popular and did pretty well early on in our careers. But with the reality is that was then, this is now. I'm not going to try to squeeze my britches back in them tight pants again so much anymore.
Let's please don't do that.
Apparently he's seen that.
He saw that picture.
Perhaps.
But anyway,
We'll put it in the description.
but anyway, in other words, we come from a different perspective because we're older now. We have more experience. And so we want to do something new about who we are now.
Right.
Not try to just keep reliving the past.
And I'm very excited to relive it all with y'all, to take that journey with y'all today. But let's start with a current song on their current record. And if you guys are interested in Bubba With Sauce, we're going to make sure you can get yourself a copy of that record right there in the description below. So you make sure you look for those links. But this is I Tried from Bubba With Sauce. Y'all check it out.
Looking for a girl that wants to be true. I sure was hoping it was gonna be you.
I think I've done everything I could. You don't always work when you're trying to do good. But I tried, but some things never change.
I met her in a joint when I was feeling down. It gave me some hope when she kept coming around.
Times like that when you're feeling blue, you end up doing things that you ought not do. Being alone can drive you crazy, make you believe what you want to believe. Maybe that's why sometimes there's heartbreak in the end. I'm on my own. I'm all alone. I'm on my own.
It ain't the first time this has happened to me. I guess that's the way it's just gonna be.
A girl comes along and she catches your eye. Here we go again and I'm wondering why. I tried, I tried, but some things never change, and I'm wondering why. Yes, I'm wondering why.
I keep wondering why. Why even try? Oh, but Lord knows I tried.
All right, so we are back once again with Bubba and Sauce. Bubba With Sauce. And again, I've been touting this since I met y'all. Combined, almost 120 years experience.
Guys, has
in
it
the
been that
music
long?
business.
Holy cow.
And everything they do is in one take. It's incredible. Y'all wouldn't believe it.
I wouldn't believe it, that's for sure.
You apparently have never worked with Mike Sauce.
So we're in the DFW Metroplex, and you were born here. You were born in Fort Worth, right?
Yeah, I was born in Fort Worth.
Yeah.
I grew up in Denton, though. I mean,
Right.
we only stayed in Fort Worth just for a little bit. And then my family moved to Denton. I stayed there. It took most of my high school years.
Yeah. So born here, raised here, still here. There's a story there somewhere, and we're definitely going to unpack that as we talk.
Okay.
Mike's history is a little bit different. He was an Air Force brat and
That's right.
born in Germany.
I was born in Wiesbaden, Germany, only because my dad was actually stationed in Chaumont, France,
Right?
and my mom didn't want to have me in a field hospital,
Right.
which was a tent.
So they drove y'all to a real
No,
military.
they didn't drive us. My dad flew us
Flew y'all.
because my dad was a pilot
Yeah.
in World War II. So, and this was after World War II, and not that long after World War II, but
So they were already teaching you bouginess.
I guess.
No field hospital's good for my son.
Well, you know, it's just my mom didn't. She wanted a real, what she thought was a real doctor.
yeah, I
a real,
understand.
a real operating room, that
Mm-hmm.
sort of thing, you know. So that's what happened. I was born in Wiesbaden, Germany. I still have a German birth certificate,
Yeah.
and I had to be naturalized at age 14.
And so prior to military service, where were they from? Your mom and dad?
My mom and dad were from Jackson, Mississippi,
Okay.
and
Out there in the middle of the woods.
actually, my mom was from about maybe 80 or 90 miles from there,
Okay.
in a little town called Colebia, Mississippi.
I know where that is.
Do you really?
I do. I was stationed in Meridian for a while.
Okay, yeah. Well,
So I did a little Mississippi time back in the day.
Colebia is a little tiny town, and up until just a few years before my mom passed away, they still had a 40-acre farm in Colebia, Mississippi.
Wow.
And that wasn't being worked or anything like that, but you know, yeah, it's a little bitty town. I know that when I went there, really the first time when I was about 10 years old, we had just come back from Japan, and my grandfather had passed away, so we went straight to the house so we could be with them. And I'd never really been on a farm. I'd always been on an air base.
Mm-hmm.
And man, there was cows and horses and mules, and
A little
And-
different.
my grandmother came out.
We're checking gearboxes, were you?
No, I was checking gearboxes then. And anyway, my grandma took me outside and she said, "Come on, son, you're going to learn to cut some okra." So I cut okra, and we had a week because they farmed the land, and they ate what they farmed,
Right.
and they didn't even have electricity then. They had oil lamps. The first time I went there,
Wow.
they got electricity later.
Yeah, and you had to walk in the snow
Uphill both ways.
to come
That's
back
right.
from that farm.
That's exactly right. We all walked uphill both
That's
ways.
right.
That's right. My dad used to say that all the time. And then he would literally take me to the uphill both ways, and it was true somehow. But, you know, I love the story. I'll get to your story about your first guitar in a minute, man. I woke my wife up because of that story, just me chuckling at 3 o'clock in the morning. She's like, "No research after midnight." And let's talk about early influences when it comes to music, because that can have a huge role in how you're shaped later on when you decide to make this your thing, right? Because at some point in time in your lives, you both decided this was more than a hobby. So what was the shaping like for that early on for both of y'all?
Well, you know, honestly, I started when I was about 14.
Right.
And to be truthful, I was watching Ed Sullivan when the Beatles came on, and I'm thinking, hey, those guys are skinny and pimply. So am I. Look at all those girls going crazy. I got to learn how to do this.
Yeah, it's about the girls.
So that's when I put my first band together called the G's.
Okay.
And we actually ended up having a single on the radio, KLIF, back in those days.
So I got to tell a little bit of a funny story about the G's too, because the G's was just the letter G.
Correct.
With the S.
Mhm.
And that was short for guys.
That's right.
And guys is already super short, Bubba.
Man, you busted me. Actually, my dad was our manager at the time. He said, "Hey, man, let's call it the G's instead." We said, "Okay."
I was reading that. I was like, we started a band called the G's.
Right.
Short for guys. And I was like, Okay, I need to see the I need to see the marquee where they needed to make it shorter than guys, right? Like that marquee had to be like.
We just thought it would be
the-
cool, so they wouldn't really know who we were for sure.
So this was your dad's idea.
Yes.
So I would have thought the reason how I explained it away was you were 14, so it kind of made sense.
Yeah, of
But
course,
now
exactly.
that your dad's getting credit for the shortening of guys.
Well, he deserves a lot of credit with my early career. There's no question about that.
So how did he shape everything that was happening for you?
Well, the thing about it is, my dad was the kind of guy, he didn't try to make you do anything. He didn't want you to be like him or anything else.
Mhm.
He completely supported everything I did in music. And my sister was in rodeo, a very successful barrel racer and all that sort of thing. And so he just let it kind of evolve and all that. But the thing I learned when I was very young was this. If you want to get out of town, if you want to really do something special, you've got to write your own material.
Mhm.
Because otherwise you're just like everybody else. And so I was very fortunate to learn how to start writing songs when I was very young. So all the songs that the G's did on our records, we wrote ourselves.
Right.
And so it just went on and on from there as you get older, of course.
What was that education like? Was it all self-taught? Like, 'cause
Well, I took
was
one.
there a mentorship there somewhere?
Well, actually, I took one guitar lesson and I thought, you know what, I don't need this guy.
Yeah.
And so I kind of taught myself. And another cool thing about it is too, if you're writing your own songs, you don't have to learn somebody else's
That's right.
songs. And
You don't have to share either.
exactly.
Mhm.
But true story. Our very first show with the G's, we were playing on a flat bed trailer in Sanger, Texas, with hay all over it. And we needed 2 songs. Okay, so we got up, played our songs, and we went off, and people went crazy. And they said, "One more song." And I said, "We don't know this song." He said, "Play this." My very first show, I wrote the song to play for our encore.
Mhm.
2 chords. Da, 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 and we played it.
I think every band in Texas's genesis starts with a flatbed trailer somewhere.
Oh, yeah,
right?
somewhere.
We were just on one. Couple weeks
Exactly.
ago.
So
That's how far we've come.
So it's not just the Genesis that includes that
That's how far
story.
we've come.
Yeah. Well, you know how it is. You always come up and go down the same way, right?
Yeah.
Well, I surely hope not.
Oh, me too. Yeah, because a lot of y'all deserve a lot more than that for sure. You talk about songwriting. I want to get into you becoming a replacement for somebody else a little bit later, where you weren't performing your own songs, which is going to be, I think, an interesting part of your story. But I want to stay with Mike as well. We talked about lessons from Dad with him. What were some lessons that you gained from your mom and dad?
Well, my dad was a World War II bomber pilot.
Right.
So he was tough as nails. I mean,
High work ethic.
but he was just an incredible person because he stood behind me in anything I wanted to try. He even let me grow my hair long in high school when that was kind of not what he was into.
Mhm.
But he was supportive and so was my mom. And but he was the kind of the guiding force to get me, motivated to do things. I was motivated to learn to play the guitar, but not the first one I got.
Mhm.
I thought I was motivated, but I found out my bicycle. And
That's a hilarious story. Again, so his first guitar, he decided it was better utilized to be pulled behind your bicycle, right? So what was the thought
I
process?
drug it
in
around
this?
the Air Force Base in Itazuki, Japan, and of course we got to race go-karts over there, and that's how I started racing, was the go-karts over there. But I got this guitar and I thought I wanted to learn because my brother had learned to play it when he was in the hospital. He had a rare bone disease in his knee and was crippled for a while, and he one of the GIs there gave him a guitar while he was in the hospital, and he learned to play. And I thought, well, he can't do that. I can do that too. So it was a little sibling rivalry there, and
So
he
you
learned to
it was
play.
girls, with him it was sibling rivalry.
I have my priorities correct.
Yeah, you did.
Well,
Absolutely.
the funny thing about my brother was that he learned to play pretty good, and he played with a band in Northern Virginia when we lived in Annandale. That ultimately, a couple of those members went on to be in Steely Dan, and he was the keyboard player. Donald Fagen was the keyboard player of that band. And but he was just doing it when he was home from college in the summer. But he loved to play, and he just played rhythm guitar and sang a little bit and stuff. And But that got me motivated. He's 7 years older than I am, and I was, I was about 11, I guess, when that was going on, and I got really motivated then after coming back from Japan,
And lucky for you and the rest of us
yeah.
that he gave you another chance on guitar, even after the first experience didn't go well.
Well, my dad said, "I'll buy you a guitar," and we bought $100. It was $99.99. It was a Gibson Melody Maker single pickup. Bought it at the Sound Center in Falls Church, Virginia, and he
I've
said,
been there too.
if you learn to play the guitar, I'll buy you a good one. And then a year later, he bought me my 335.
Yeah.
My Blue 335. And
Well, thank gosh he gave you another chance, because man,
yeah. I mean, he, like I said, he was very supportive. He wanted me to follow whatever kind of path I wanted to follow, and he was always supportive about that.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I want a specific lesson from both of y'all that you learned from Mom.
Wow.
I actually learned a lesson about my mom from my father. And like I said, my father was pretty straightforward disciplinarian. And he used to tell me things all the time. I mean, he had a little saying for almost everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked back to my mom one day when I got home from school. I was about 11 years old, I guess. And my mom did not get upset, but I did. My dad got home. He came into my bedroom and said, "Hey, Mom says that you've not been very good. You've been talking, being really mean, loud, yelling at her and stuff."
Mm-hmm.
He says, "That doesn't happen around here.
Mm-hmm.
That will never happen again." And to put it lightly, I didn't really need to go to sleep that night.
Mm-hmm.
I got a good slap across the
I think it's
face.
a lesson most of us have been taught with our moms.
And I don't regret lessons like that, because hitting me was probably not the best thing to do. And I've never hit my children, but the fact is that it was kind of, I needed to learn a lesson,
Mm-hmm.
and I learned it, and never did that again.
Bubba?
Well, mine's a little different. Okay. Of course, once again, my mother kind of supported the G's and all that stuff. We had our own little suits made and all that stuff.
Mhm.
And I wanted to have hair like the Beatles, right? But my hair is real curly anyway. And so I could not get my hair to go down straight so it looked like I had those bangs. And my mother showed me if I get some dippity-doo and put on there, and then I'd sit under her big old huge hair dryer, I'd look like one of the Beatles.
So it's just all about wanting to be Paul and Ringo and
Yes, absolutely. Are you kidding me?
yeah,
Everybody wanted to be Paul.
of course. And a lot of people would say Paul, there was a new Paul. We won't get into conspiracy theories.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. That was interesting. I've traveled that rabbit hole. Well, I'll tell you what, some crazy stuff.
No.
One thing I wanted to talk to you, Mike. I'm kind of a Army brat myself, military brat, and I know moving around a lot can kind of mess with you socially. You know that you're going to end up that this is temporary, and you learn over time that this is temporary, and I should be guarded on making friends because I'm probably not going to keep them for very long. How did that shape your existence back?
Well, I don't think I was smart enough at first to actually realize that we were going to move again quickly.
Right.
But we did. I mean, I've lived lots of different places, but you kind of get used to it, and you make friends. A lot of times in the military, you see those same people at other assignments,
That's a fair
other
point,
bases.
Yeah.
And I know when we moved when we came back from Japan, we were in Southern Virginia, and I didn't see anybody. We're at Hampton.
Mm-hmm.
And then they moved my dad to the Pentagon a year later, so we moved to Annandale, Virginia, and I was in I finished 6th grade and going to 7th grade, and I went into auditorium because they would give you your schedule there, and the base commander's son walked in from Itazuki, and of course I figured he was a colonel. My dad was a major at the time, and we played on a baseball team together. So there I had one person I actually recognized in it, which was great.
Right.
And but my experience and just the things I learned being on a military basis, I wouldn't trade that for anything.
Yeah. It always taught me to hold on to friendships.
Yeah.
Like just really don't you don't let go of them quite as easily.
Well, I
It's
think it teaches you so much. It teaches you, one, that you're no better than anyone else.
right.
Everybody's in the same, the same situation, and everybody is going to be judged by how well they deal with that, and I just think it was a great education. I mean, it really was.
So I love the fact that we are 20 minutes into this and we've barely talked about music.
About music, yeah.
That's the great thing about storytelling, is really trying to figure out where people come from. But I am going to try to get into the music a little bit more now. You both started early, 12, 14, so early teens, essentially. When did you guys both know, in your experience, that this is more than a hobby? This is something I want to do.
Well, for me, of course, the G's had gotten pretty popular.
Yeah.
I remember.
This is a local kind of popular.
Yeah. I'll kind of explain.
Yeah, please.
So anyway, they had like talent shows and stuff like that, and they had a talent show like on a Friday night at the junior high auditorium, right? And the G's played, and this taught me a lot. The girls went crazy, like we were the Beatles.
It's just a band.
I mean, they came up to the stage and started freaking out and all that stuff. And when we got through playing, we were thinking, man, I can't wait to get to school Monday. All these chicks are going crazy for us. And when we got to school on Monday, we were invisible again.
Of course. Yeah.
That taught me a lot.
Yeah.
In other words, I'm back to being a skinny, pimply kid that nobody really wants anything to do with unless I'm playing.
Yeah.
And I that's when I kind of knew that's it.
Was it that adulation, though, that early adulation that made you want to be a front man? Because I've noticed that's kind of traveled with you through your experience. You were always kind of the face of the bands you were in.
Well, the thing about it is, because I've had a lot of experience doing it, some people, they don't like being on stage, or it makes them really scared.
You're right.
Or that makes them really nervous or whatever. I've always liked being on stage because I like people.
Yeah, you're very personable.
And, well, the thing about it is, the reality is, those people come there because they want to like you.
Right.
They already like you.
Mm-hmm.
All you have to do is just be yourself and have fun.
Right. Yeah.
Because if you're not having fun doing that, you're not going to have any fun.
And treating everybody like a friend rather than a fan. I've noticed that.
Well, exactly. I mean, the thing about it is, when we play, I'm always watching people just to see how they're feeling, what they're doing, and all that stuff, because I'm curious, number one. Number two, I just like people for the most part. Now, there's some people that are harder to like, but it's our job as performers, guitar players, singers, to make them feel better, to make them, maybe they don't feel good, maybe if they're got the blues or whatever. Our job is to entertain them, make them happy, let them become part of us for a while, come into our lives, share your life with us.
Right.
And that's what creates that synergy between the audience and you.
And is it that reaction early on at talent shows and things like that from the audience that really made you think of this as more than just a passing thing?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Because the thing about it is, I knew I'd never be a great athlete. I'm not real smart. Don't say nothing. And
You can tell me later.
the thing about it is, I knew what I wanted to do. Like I said, when I was 14, I knew that's it. That's all I want to do. And I'm one of the very few really fortunate ones that knew so early that I got a lot of experience before I even got out of high school.
Right.
And so they kind of gave me kind of a head start. And
I think that's fortunate for both of y'all, for sure.
yeah.
You knew early. Couple that with the fact that you both had folks that were completely on board for whatever you guys wanted to do. I mean, that's huge at a young age.
Yeah.
Mike, when did you know?
Well, when I was about 14 or 15 years old, 14, when we were in Virginia, I got a little band together, and we were playing a lot at little parties and at junior high school dances and stuff like that, and I really liked just performing, and we even played with a Vanilla Fudge at a Elks Lodge in Fairfax, Virginia, and it was, I mean, they let us play. They didn't pay us anything, but we got to play with a recording act,
Yeah, that's huge.
And we did one with Tommy James and the Shondells, and it was
He was just in town.
for a
I
for
saw
a
that.
14-year-old. You know, it was just really cool to do that, and I think that I decided about that time that I really wanted to, stay after music. Now, my father wanted me to finish playing football, and he wanted me to go to college and all that
Of course.
stuff, and I did. And I played football for a while, and I really loved playing football. That was great. And in those days, I was a big guy, and now I'm not such a big guy. But it was a great experience, and playing on a team is really like being in a band.
Yeah, of course.
You can't. You're going to
You
have
have to rely
somebody
on
that
your brothers.
right. Sure,
Yeah.
you got to rely on everybody that's there, and maybe you're going to get some glory, maybe you're not, but you're going to be part of the end result, and that's what's important, I think. And I think that was a really good lesson to learn. And when I've been in bands, I always seems like I always end up being, more than another single member. I'll make sure I get the equipment together, that, doing that kind of thing. And
It's funny you say that because that's the reason why you were so hard to find online. Because you've always been a member of a band. It's never been Mike Sauce. It's never been Bubba Keith. You guys have always been
right.
the member of a band, and
Right.
the band name is always more important than individuality.
What's funny about that is
Yeah.
when we signed with Polydor, they wanted us to change our name because
Yeah.
our original name was Rush,
Right.
and we were actually Rush before Rush was
Yep.
Rush.
And then you changed it to the first Rush.
To change it to First
Yeah.
Rush, and then when we signed with Polydor, they said you got to change your name. We're not doing any more Rushes.
Yeah.
Because they
No more rushing.
well they had Mahogany Rush on Polygram.
Yep.
And they had Rush on Mercury, and
Is it true you guys found out about that because you had a gig on the same road on the same night?
we did. We were playing over in Dallas, and at the it was
What a
Travis
shocker that had to
Travis
be.
Street Electric Company. We'd already done our sound check, and we thought we'd drive by Travis Street Electric Company to see who was in there, and it was Rush. We thought, what's the matter? We got Rush.
How are we playing here too?
We got Rush in there, so we went inside, and it was Geddy Lee and the
Yeah,
band,
yeah.
and I think at that time they didn't have Neil Peart on drums; they had somebody else. But so anyway, I asked Geddy Lee. I said, "Well, man, where are you guys from?" And he says, "Oh, we're from Canada." I said, "Oh, okay, whatever that means." And I said, "Well, we're also called Rush." He says, "Oh," he says, "Rush, where are you from?" I said, "We're from Texas." He says, "Oh, we're not."
Yeah.
So, but they made it stick, and they did a great job.
Now they're
Great-
Hall of Famers.
Yeah, absolutely, great band, and,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
but they were really approachable at that time.
That's
I don't know
cool.
what they're like now, but
Yeah.
so we went back.
That kind of stuff doesn't change usually.
Yeah, we changed our name to First Rush, and then we played on after that.
And then it was Stark Raven, right?
Yeah, when we signed with Polydor, our management wanted to call the band Sauce,
See, I like that.
and the rest of the band was against it. And I said, well, I'm not gonna push that, So I just sat there in the room.
I think they messed up.
And
That's a great band name.
well, then it would be, I would be assumed to be the leader of the band, which I really was, but
But still, I mean, think about it. Just looking back 40 years later,
well, they looked at
there's
it
no
this way.
band with that name even now.
Right. They looked at it like, well, he's doing most of the lead singing, he's writing most of the songs.
Yeah.
And they said, well,
If you go back and listen to those records, it's
Yeah.
clear who the leader is. I'm
Right.
just gonna say.
Well,
I will say that. I know you won't, but
bands are bands, and you got to have everybody's part in there, and
right,
all the parts together make the final.
exactly
part,
right. And if one part is not right, then it doesn't go where it should.
And
Right.
it was a really, really good live band. I
Mhm.
mean, the band, what you heard on the records was mostly all just no overdubs or anything. I mean, we went in the studio, played and sang the songs, and because we had to do it on a really small budget, and because Polydor only gave us.
I'm here to tell you that
budget.
stuff is not easy to find on the internet,
I bet it
but
is.
it is there, and I implore you all to check it out. It's Stark Raven. Or Stark Raven. It's
Right.
all one word with an
Right.
apostrophe at the end
Right.
in
Right.
case of the G. Let's talk about Bubba and your kind of matriculating into the James gang. We talked about you being a songwriter, really, first and foremost, and that's usually where it starts. Like your dad said, if you want to get out of here, you have to be original. But the James gang already had hits and stuff like that out there. So what's it like for a songwriter to come in as a replacement and singing other stuff?
Okay, just a brief history before that.
Yeah, please.
I moved to California when I was 18 to get famous.
Yeah,
And of course, you know how that works out.
yeah.
And so,
Sometimes.
after I got evicted, many, many times,
Yeah,
I got with a band called Uncle Tom, which is really one of my favorite bands ever. What a great band. Very interesting. And when Joe Walsh left, the first time they came to me and Richard Shack, who was playing guitar with Uncle Tom, and said, we want you guys to come be with the James Gang. We had just signed a contract with Uncle Tom with United Artists Records. We said, not yet.
Yeah.
So they went through a couple of different iterations of it, and then they called us back and said, hey, we really want you guys to come and be with this band. And, Uncle Tom is great as it was. We just couldn't seem to get any traction. And honestly, I was really tired of starving to death.
yeah.
And it was such a great opportunity. And so we went and we moved to Cleveland. And
Oh boy.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a little bit different.
oh, quite a bit different, yes. But anyways, the great fellas, and we had a really great time. We didn't have a whole lot of time to prepare for the record. But Richard and I wrote everything on there, or either together or separately or whatever. And really good guys, really good musicians too. And what's crazy is, I don't know if you know who Tom Dowd is. He was the producer that did people like The Cream, Leonard Skinner. He's like legendary. He actually did that record with me and Richard and the James Gang. And it was such a great opportunity.
Yeah.
It really was. But here's the reality. I have no delusion, and I did not have any delusion about my talent level. I just happened to be at the right place at the right time.
Right.
Simple as that. And I really want to express to all the especially the younger musicians, that don't give up. The main thing is, what normally happens is people become successful through attrition because everybody else is quitting. Don't quit.
That's true.
Yeah.
If you'll stick it out and hang in there and starve with me down there on Sunset Boulevard in LA, we might make it.
Man, that's a good word to use, attrition. That's so true. I'd never think
That's what it is.
Yeah.
I never thought of it that way. It's all about whoever survives longer,
Exactly.
right? So what is it like, though? Because the James Gang at that time, they're a performing band as well.
Oh, yeah.
They've got hits already.
Yeah,
You're writing stuff for the band as well.
Right.
But you're having to perform those older songs.
Yeah.
And, I mean, looking back, different voices.
Well, the thing about it is,
From a passion level, what's that like, filling
the
those shoes?
good thing about it is, it was good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It was
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
good stuff,
Yeah.
and stuff I really enjoyed doing. It was kind of in my voice range and all that sort of thing. And we got to tour with people like Alice Cooper, Kiss, Rod Stewart. We got to play with all these really huge stars, and I learned a lot watching those people and learning from those people. Here's what I found out too: most of them are pretty good folks.
Oh, yeah.
Now, some of them not so much.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the people that are already successful and very, very talented, they're just like us.
95% of them just want to be treated like a human being.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly right. But anyways, such a great opportunity for me. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I can't imagine. That phone call had to be something. And so it was you and another member of your band that were
Yes.
kind of...
Yes, it was. And the thing about it is, here's what you learn too. When you start getting to there, the pressure becomes a lot more intense
Right.
because you don't have time to rehearse. Here's the deadline. Got to be ready.
And so that same experience happens again with Point Blank, right? Where you
Well,
come
actually,
in.
I was with a band called England, Dan and John.
Right.
Foley.
That was before Point Blank,
Yes.
right? I always get that. Okay.
So anyways, being with England Dan was a great opportunity because I got to do a lot of television, and I got to go all over the world, and they treated me so
This was a
well.
lot of harmonica stuff with them,
Yeah, I
right?
played harmonica. Actually, what's funny is on one song, a song called let's see, Something Gambler. I played congas, drums to begin with, then I played guitar, then I played guitar and sang, and then I played harmonica, and then I went back to guitar in one song.
Yeah.
So that was kind of fun. And I'll tell you something, they were really good. And a lot of the stuff we did, like Love is the Answer by Todd Rundgren,
Yeah.
I think they did a great version of it. And some of the things they did weren't not necessarily the hits like Really Love to See You Tonight and Nights of Forever, which I love, by the way. Some of their other stuff was very complex and very hard to play and sing at the same time. So it was a challenge.
Progressive.
And they were from the Dallas area, too.
Well, actually, they were, they had a band called Southwest FOB
Right, right.
that had Ovid Stevens, who was my best friend forever, who went. We started a band, and I went back to LA to play with those guys, and we did all this stuff. And Ovid always wanted to play with Uncle Tom because Uncle Tom was very progressive and very a lot of improvising.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted to play with Uncle Tom because we were good, but it was different.
Yeah.
And so Ovid wanted to be in that band so bad. But then after that band, and after the James Gang, Ovid got in contact with me and said, "Hey man, let's get together and get a band together." And that's how we had the contact with England and John Ford.
Yeah.
And so, man, once again, the luckiest guy you will ever meet in your life.
It's so funny, you guys. You talk about progressive because that's been your history too throughout your history of music. Very progressive all the way through.
Oh yeah, I mean, Rush or First Rush or whatever.
Start craving.
Yeah, we played almost a whole like a 30-minute medley of Yes songs. Plus we probably did 15 Kansas songs a night.
Yeah.
We did actually Song for America, and we played the 9/8 part in the middle of it, which nobody does that. We actually did that on Kazoo on the Sunday night radio show with Rob Owen.
Wow.
We were playing that, and they record it live during the afternoon, and then they play it that night. And Steve Walsh calls in and says, "Who is that? They just played Song for America. Who is that?"
Yeah.
And of course, Rob Owen said, "Yeah, it's a local band here. They like Kansas." He said, "That's amazing. We don't even play the 9/8 part on live anymore."
It was funny. The first time I ever heard your name, I asked somebody who their favorite harmonica player was.
Really?
Yeah. And they were like,
And they said,
Keith.
"Bubba Keith?"
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Huh.
So that's when I started looking you up. And of course, I didn't find much harmonica. So it was like, okay, that's.
Well, I played a little bit with Point Blank.
Yeah.
But honestly, England, I did play with Dan and John, and I played some with some of my other bands. But I was primarily the singer,
Yeah.
the lead singer, and the songwriter. But some of the stuff I did, like with Uncle Tom was more like jazz, rock, reggae fusion.
Yeah.
All at once.
All over the place.
All in one song.
All in one song.
We'd be the kind of band that if you wanted to play a 5-minute solo, fine. You want to play a 10-minute solo? Okay, keep going.
Well, we've got a harmonica solo on one of our
Yep,
songs
sure
on the new
do.
album
Yeah,
that Bubba played.
Sure do.
So,
So the DFW scene, when did you get here?
well, I moved down here at the basically April of my 9th grade year,
Okay.
and we moved to Arlington. My dad went to work for LTV.
So it would have been like late 50s, early 60s?
68.
60s, late 60s, yeah. Okay.
And I got into the minute I got down there, because I was really not happy about leaving, because I had a band up there and was playing on the football team, and I was really happy. And we had to move down here, and it wasn't like he was still in the Air Force because he retired. And we moved down here, and the first thing I did was go to the want ads in the Fort Worth Star Telegram classified, and I found a band. I found these guys that are like 15 years old. Drummer Chuck Cahall. I don't know if you know who Chuck Cahall is, but was a fabulous drummer, and he passed away here just recently. But he was a great drummer, and a guy named Mike Walters, and we had a 3-piece band. I came over in the audition. They said, "Okay, you got the job. Let's go." So their dad used to take us all over Texas. I mean, I'm a sophomore in high school, and I'm playing 110 nights a year.
Wow.
Okay, and I made more money when I was 15. I couldn't even drive, and I always had $250, $300 in my pockets.
It's funny. I told my wife recently, I said, I think I made more money before I turned 20 than after I turned 20.
I was amazed that Chuck's dad, Charlie Cahall, he booked us like crazy, and he would go rent a 4x8 U-Haul, and he had a trailer hitch clamped to the rear bumper of his Newport, Chrysler Newport, and we went all over Texas and Oklahoma. And I mean to tell you, we had a pretty decent light show. We had all custom equipment, and I mean it looked really cool. We wore Nehru jackets.
Oh, right.
And it was,
All
and
right.
we got big. I mean, we were getting $800, $900 a night. There was 3 of us.
Wow. Can't even get that today.
You sure can.
That's right.
That's crazy.
That's why I say I made more money doing that.
Yeah.
Except when we were touring, I made a little bit more money than that, but not much. And I mean, boy, when we were touring, we played everything from big clubs to, to the Indiana State Fair was 80,000 people. You know?
I find it interesting because in the 21st century here in Texas, country music kind of rules the way in Texas. But it was a little different back then, right? It was really mostly rock and roll.
Yeah,
it was.
exactly.
And I tell you what,
It was mainly pop.
Yeah.
Okay, pop music.
I did some studio work with a guy named Michael also, and I met him when he was playing with SS Fools, which was him, Floyd Sneed, the drummer from Three Dog Night. Michael also was a guitar player with him.
Yep.
And I met them down in Austin at Armadillo World because they invited us to play with them. And the only reason he did was because the guy that was kind of helping us out said he used to be Three Dog Night's road manager. So we go down to Armadillo World, and next thing you know, we're all buds, and I went out and did a bunch of recording with him, but he told me, he said, every time I come to Texas, I hate it. I said, why is that? He says, because I know that every club has got a much better guitar player in it than me.
Stevie Ray.
He says, I know there's guitar players out in the audience that just mop the
It's
floor.
funny you say that. My last interview was a Texas tornado. So.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Craig Wallace
Sure,
named
yeah.
the Texas tornado in '85. So,
But that's the one thing great about this area. There's just tons of great guitar
Musicians.
players,
Yeah.
and musicians in general. But
yeah.
I mean, you've had so many great guitar players come in this area.
Mm-hmm.
So, what was DFW like in the late '60s and mid 70s?
Well, now remember, I moved to Los Angeles in '68,
Okay.
and so I didn't come back.
Ah,
You see, I went from Los Angeles to Cleveland to be with the James Gang.
right.
Okay, and then when I got with England Dan, they let me stay here.
They were already established at that point, too,
Yeah,
right?
everybody was in
Yeah.
LA, but me, I was the only one that wouldn't. I said, I'm not moving out there.
Okay.
And so they let me live here. And then if we were going to do a TV show or, practice or get ready to go on the road or whatever, then they would ship me out there
Yeah.
because I'd had enough of LA. I mean, it's pretty bad now, but back then it was bad back
Yeah.
then too.
I've heard stories.
It would beat you down.
Oh man, it's
Just beat you
unbelievable.
down.
I remember when I first went out there, I thought, man, I'm really good. I'm a pretty cute kid,
Mm.
and I'm pretty good, and I'm pretty young. And when I got out there, everybody was better than me. They were better looking than me,
Yeah.
and they do it for free.
Right. You're not so special anymore.
No,
You get beaten down really quickly.
that's what I'm saying. Thank
Yeah.
you for being so, make me so lucky and blessed.
Yeah, well, it was that early experience, right?
Yes,
Doing the talent show,
right,
having all that adulation,
right,
going to school Monday and you're nobody.
exactly.
So that works.
So you're reliving that.
Yeah, yeah, I can
So it's a
remember.
lesson you needed to learn early.
Well, I'm still kind of learning it too.
I'm sure.
We're really
Well, you're the
living
front
again.
guy.
Yeah, I'm the. Well, actually, the cool thing about it is working with Mike.
Yeah,
I mean, the guy is just so talented.
yeah.
I mean, he can play better than most people. He can sing better than most people, and do it at the
Completely
same
different.
time
It's,
while he's looking around seeing what I'm
it's
doing.
insane.
It's not fair to the rest of us mere
It's not.
mortals.
He
It's
took
just
all
not
the
fair.
talent.
But it's just the good thing about working with Mike is not only that he's such a good fella,
Yeah,
and just when we decided to put this thing together, we really didn't know what it was going to be. Where it was going to
I had
go.
no idea.
We had no idea, but we kind of, am I getting ahead of the story?
no, you're doing fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
So anyway, he had a show. Why don't you tell that part about the show and everything?
Oh, well, we first rush, we got back together,
yeah.
and I put a
Like
studio.
2010, somewhere
Yeah,
in that
around
area,
that time,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And we got back together with most of the original members and a couple others, and I built a studio in my shop where my parts department used to be,
Mhm.
and because I was making a living, in the automotive business, working on cars and whatnot, and racing cars, and we decided to do a little local show where we could put it on Facebook, and we'd bring up local musicians to play with us. They'd play some of our new songs,
Mhm.
and we'd play some of theirs. So Bubba was one of the people we got up there to do one, and of course we did Nicole, and then he sang I think a Hard Loving Woman off our first Rush record, and there was definitely some. I mean, we were working together,
Mhm.
and I kind of got a little frustrated with just practicing and not playing enough, because we wanted to play original material, and it's hard to play original material as a rock band,
Yeah.
you know, unless you've got some, you know, some history. And
You have to have I feel like you have to have a certain level of trust built up with your audience.
oh
as
yeah,
well, right?
well,
When you're
you never know what they're going to think of something that
Exactly.
you concocted, you
Yeah.
know. So
and they want to know the songs that they're listening to.
well, they want to hum along, you know, they want to be part of it, and they can't be part of an original song. You know, that's why, you know, we play a lot of Bubba stuff that was fairly popular, you know, and that helped, that breaks the ice,
Mhm.
you know, and but I think no matter what you do as a musician, when you get on stage, you got to remember that whatever you do, you got to do it well.
Mm-hmm.
And even if it's somebody else's song,
That's right.
you can put whatever spin on it you want to put on it.
And I would
do
say
it.
that's imperative.
I
to
mean-
put your spin on it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's funny, but you know,
Because that's not to interrupt, but
Oh.
that's how you get your audience to accept an original. You know, if you like my take on this,
Mm-hmm. Right.
listen to this original that I have as well.
Sure.
They're
Well,
more likely to give you that opportunity.
well, if they like you, I think they will. You know,
Absolutely.
if they like the other stuff you did.
Yeah.
So.
The good thing about working with Mike as a songwriter, and by the to put a cap on the story about when we met, decided to get something.
Mhm.
I remember I bet how many times you called
I
him and said,
don't know.
"Hey man, let's do something."
A dozen or so,
I
probably.
don't know, man. Come on, man, let's do something. And I said, why don't we consider maybe a duo or something like that?
Mhm.
Something we've never done. And the cool thing about it is that lets us be us,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
And whatever we're doing, it's him, me. That's it.
I find it interesting that you stepped away from music, not once, but a couple of times.
Well,
Was that because of being disenfranchised with it, or?
Well, here's. I don't want to drag out the story too long, but I'd done it for a long
Right.
time, and I'd already determined that I was going to retire at a certain age,
Right.
and I was at that age, and it was right after him and Denton from Nicole. And my wife and I at the time had bought a little farm, and I was totally happy at it, with being with her at it.
Yeah.
And Bill Randolph, who's one of my best good buddies, called me from Memphis saying they couldn't finish the album. They wanted me to come in and see if we could work something out and be part of that band, be the lead singer, blah blah blah, and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, let me talk to my wife about it, because she was actually pregnant with my first son. And we said, and I said, well, I'll go check it out. And so we went. We had got a good rapport going on. And then I talked to him. We said, we're going to give it 5 years. That's it. No matter what I'm doing at that point, I'm done,
Mm-hmm.
because my family needs me.
Right.
They're at that age where they need a daddy,
Mm-hmm.
not road daddy,
Right.
not somebody they see on TV, somebody that's sitting there with them playing and having
course.
fun and stuff. And
Yeah.
so that was already predetermined.
Mm-hmm.
And so it didn't matter. And
So you just stuck with that.
yeah.
Mm.
And of course I still do music, but I did it. I've always written songs, and I got, of course, before I met Mike, shoot, that we're talking about, that was 1985.
Mm-hmm.
So between 1985 until now with Mike, it's the first CD I've put out since then.
Mhm.
And the great thing about working with Mike is, you know, he comes up with these great ideas, but we never say, okay, we got to do it right now. I got to finish it right now,
Right.
because we didn't have a deadline. We said, you know what?
Been there and done that too many times.
Oh, yeah. Because the thing about it is, for example, like the song The Truth that we do together, we wanted to make sure that every line of every word of every verse was right.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing with The Winds of Time. We said, well, it's not finished. Okay, we'll finish it later. Because you can't, because once you start doing that, when you start saying, we got to write something right now, then you're just somebody else working in an assembly line.
Yeah, that can stifle your creative
And
process
so-
for sure. Yeah.
And the good thing about it is we had such a good rapport as writers
Mm-hmm.
that, but we would know when it was right. You just know, just like the song, Hey You, we kind of worked on that for a while. And like the song that, The Winds of Time, we did say, well, that's finished. No, it's not finished.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted it to be like a Stevie Ray song. I'll sing until I'm tired of singing, then he'll play some guitar.
All right.
When he's tired of playing guitar, I'll sing some more.
Yep.
And that way, it's original, it's fresh, it's unique, and it's not
And it's different every time you perform as well.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which is replay value to your audience.
Well,
When I came up with that chord progression and basically the kind of most of the song, I didn't have any idea what we're going to call it. And so I get to rehearsal and we get together and I said, hey, I got this new thing. Listen to this. And he started singing the dadgum song. I mean, this guy, I've never worked with anybody that could just immediately come up with something, because I've always had a lot of ideas and I had to finish the songs myself most of the time. And, but lyrically, just a melody wise or something over the top of stuff. That's why I think we do our best work when we write together. Although we've written some pretty good songs, individually, and that's, to me, that's the joy in this, because I can get up and I could play with a local rock band and play all these songs I've played for, years.
Yeah.
I get up there and play Rocky Mountain Way all night long, that sort of thing.
And very good. By the way.
But it
with
doesn't.
with the squawk box.
Yeah, we have a copy of it.
The funny thing about that is that's really the first time I've played that in probably 25 or 30 years.
Well, I'll have to put that disclaimer on it. They won't believe that. They won't believe that at all.
But, I remember the talk box came out of my mouth. I wasn't used to having that tube in there. And I thought,
all the things I wanted to say.
It was great.
Oh,
I was thinking all of those things you probably wanted to say.
But, it's you can do that stuff. I mean, what most, local bands are doing these days is they call up their buddies, hey, we got a gig Saturday night, and they throw it together and they do it. And that's cool. I'm glad they got that opportunity, and I have to say
satisfies. I admire people that do that for a living, because it's hard.
Yeah, it is.
It's hard.
Yeah.
And you don't make much money.
You guys have very parallel experiences
Yes.
through your life. There's a lot of symbioticness. I'm not sure what the word is.
Symbiosis.
There you go. We'll go with that.
I am the word guy.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, there's a lot of that. So what kind of role do you think that plays in your writing together now? Because again, you guys have a lot of these experiences that line up over time.
It seems like to me that it helps with the creativity for sure.
I would imagine.
And he's got so many different experiences of stuff, whereas I played in a progressive rock band.
Yeah.
And all we were worried about was making it so hard nobody else could play it. Or
and they
sing
succeeded.
or sing it, and so I mean, I just was from that mold that it's got to be 120%,
right?
And you got to play this and you got to sing this at the same time. And I mean, I never played any blues during that time.
Yeah.
So when I sit down, my wife always tells me, when you play the blues, you sound happy. You're not supposed to be happy when you sing the blues. So, because I'm just trying to do what I can do,
Just for a pause, I have to tell a quick story for those out there who may not have been in attendance. The first time I saw these guys live was not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago, and they played a 14-minute blues song, and I looked at my wife, and I said, you know what the name of this song is? She goes, I have no idea. I said, this is called Our Set List Ran Out 2 songs ago.
Was it that slow blues song?
Yeah.
But you know what, though? Whenever we play that song, I always just make it up as I go.
I know.
Yeah, it's
Just
a,
make it up as I
I'm
go.
aware. I know the tricks. I've seen the tricks, but I looked
But
at
you know
my...
what? It was all about the girls, and they seemed to like it.
Yeah, but I told her that, she was like, you know what? That's probably true. I said, oh, I know it's true.
Oh, sure.
Their set list done run out. They're doing this stuff now.
Well, we didn't play enough guitar solos.
No,
Ricky didn't get a lot of his guitar solos, and I didn't get some of mine, and we had planned to play things a little longer, but we're so used to doing
Well, it
it.
was a great show, and I know you guys were practicing some stuff out on us too. I felt like a very happy guinea pig, believe me.
There was plenty of songs that we hadn't really played much.
Right.
So,
And one thing I want to talk about, because it's so apparent just from the one show that I've seen from y'all, you guys are really finding passion in each other now, aren't you?
oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, I always say that if you're not having fun doing this, you're not having any fun. But at the same time, the greatest, I think, to me, especially as a performer and a songwriter, as an artist, is, see, I can never be like a guy that writes books or somebody that paints paintings, where you
Yeah.
work on it for 2 years and go someplace and somebody may not like it.
Right.
See, to me, the great thing about it is, especially in the music business, you know, we pour out our lives, our hearts into what we really want to do.
Right.
You know, with our new CD, I mean, we're going some different places. You know, we're kind of going in a spiritual way, in a philosophical way, in a way that we're really tearing our souls out.
Mhm.
And the greatest, I think, reward is when you've written a song, and when you play it for people, you see them really liking it, and see it even affecting them,
Mhm.
maybe making them happy or maybe get a tear in their eye.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, see, that's that synergy. That's that. Oh gosh, what's the word I'm looking for?
It's a connection.
It's the connection. It's like all of a sudden there's this invisible line
Mhm.
between them and us. And when it's your song, that is the greatest,
I agree.
the greatest thing that you can get as an artist.
Yeah.
To know that what we have created, they like it, and it affects them the way it affects us.
The new record is incredible, and just to expound on what you're talking about the record, it's obvious it's all about freedom, and the freedom of your own creativeness is what I'm talking about, because there's no attempt at being marketable
Exactly.
or commercial
Right.
with this record, and it's so apparent. And I'm a huge fan of roots style music, like the new record. So as a listener, I can always tell when somebody is trying to make something sellable. And that's not here anywhere. And that's why I'm a fan of this record.
Well, we're trying to tell a story, send a message,
Right.
and we're trying to get to people's inner emotion, you know. And I think a lot of the songs, what really gets me, and I didn't get this with progressive rock.
Mhm.
I mean, because you're playing these big places, and sometimes it's 500 people, sometimes it's 5,000, sometimes it could be 50,000.
Mhm.
You know, and you don't get that connection with the audience.
No, you can
I mean,
you can play
flash
that
pods
music.
are going
Yeah.
off, and there's light
Or you
everywhere.
can play
you're
that
jumping
crowd,
around.
that 50,000 people, and not reach a single
Absolutely.
listener.
Well,
you know?
what's really cool though is we play these listening rooms where we did one. Okay, I tell you, we did one down in Temple, Texas.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and we walked in and we didn't do anything but play guitar and sing. No PA, nothing.
Yeah.
There was about 35 or 40 people there. Every seat was taken.
Oh, that's
And
a
it was
great
in
show.
a rotunda. And what was really cool was that we were playing this song "Good Crazy," which you probably not heard it yet. It's another one's song Bubba wrote. But we're playing that song, and I'm looking at this lady. She's probably 50, 60 years old. She's back there, and she's got her Kleenex up.
Yeah.
And I mean, she's so engulfed in what we're doing. And I thought, man, this is why we do this.
Mhm.
This is exactly why we do it, because we're actually
That's the definition of success, right?
we're actually
there.
connecting with them,
Yeah.
And I think we played for tips, and I don't know, it was $300-400 in tips, but it was great. But it was really rewarding as a musician, as a performer, that they got it,
Mhm.
and that just doesn't happen very often,
Mhm.
And when they get it, that's just you just feel really fulfilled.
Well, I just feel like that we've succeeded in our quest,
Yeah.
so to speak. When you see other people doing like that, but I have to admit, it didn't bother me too much to be on stage at the Texas Jam in '82 either. So that was kind of fun.
Mhm. Yeah.
What's crazy is I saw some people at the time I was telling you about. I left and had a little country in the country.
Mhm.
There were some people that came to that show way up in the banisters, and they put out a huge banner that says, "Hey Bubba, it's everybody from Granbury." I thought that was so cool.
Yeah.
I still have that, by the way.
That's cool. And we talked about Point Blank, and one thing I have noticed as somebody, we have a lot of mutual friends, Ricky Lynn and Donnie Hiles.
yeah.
And gosh, anybody that's been a musician in this area forever, I'm just a huge respect for them.
Those
and-
are our brothers.
Yes,
Yeah.
mine too, and that's a huge honor to be able to say that. Believe me, but I've heard the stories and the legends of Point Blank, and man, let me tell you what. Gosh, you guys were big in this area.
Well,
Like
actually,
big. Like we're 40 years, 50 to 30 years later, and there is still point blank stories at just about every venue I go to.
Yeah.
You can find a story from somebody about point blank.
well, the thing about it is, the original members like Buzzy and Kim and Rusty
Mhm.
and Philip and all that, and Johnny O, those guys laid the foundation for that band for years.
Right.
They were the ones who were out there busting their butt, turn and turn and turn and turn
Yep.
and turn, forever. And they laid the foundation for that band.
Yeah.
And I just happened to come in at the right place at the right time again.
Yeah.
And just happened to have the right song that would fit them.
No talent in you at all.
Well, I'm just saying.
Just so happened.
Well, no, I'm just saying though.
I know.
What's the irony of that?
Yeah.
That I just happened to be ready or
Well, maybe it's
available.
equal part luck and equal part know-how.
Well, ultimately, it's a.
I'm not going to get him to admit it.
in my opinion, it's a blessing.
Yes,
Okay,
I agree.
and I realize that, and because I know there's so many musicians, they're so much better than I am.
Mhm.
They just can't seem to find a break anywhere, and it just makes me feel really bad. But at the same time, once again, when the door opens, you got to be ready, and you
See,
got
there's that circular moment we were talking about
There
earlier.
you
You
go,
just
there you
took
go.
us right back to "I Tried," which was the first song.
Right,
that we
exactly.
played. See, there's that circular motion.
There it is.
Yeah. The two bands, Point Blank and Savvy, I hear about them all the time. Never got a chance, obviously, to see either one live. Thankfully, there's plenty of stuff out there to listen to from both. But yeah, those are the legendary DFW bands that you hear about no matter where you go nowadays.
Well, I appreciate that very much. But
Yeah.
once again, I realize how lucky I was to be there and have that opportunity.
Yeah.
And once again, folks, I thank you so much for not just supporting the band when I was with the band, but continuing to support them after I left and continuing to support them before I was in there, because those guys, they were so good.
Yeah.
That band I was in.
I wish I had met Rusty. I've heard so many stories.
Oh,
Rusty
what
was a
an
peach.
incredible
Yeah,
band.
I've heard
He was
so
a
many good
peach.
things about Rusty. I came into that scene just after
Right.
he passed.
Not to mention, he was a world-class guitar player.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've
Yeah.
seen
He was
plenty
a
of
wonderful
evidence
player
of that. But
and a really, really good guy.
yeah, I feel really just. I wish I was there to meet him, but I did get to meet his daughter at the show
Right, yeah.
that you guys
CJ,
put on. Yeah. I basically just got a chance to tell her. I said, "You already know this, but your dad was a badass."
Oh, absolutely. Here's the thing. I just want to say this about Point Blank, though. The iteration that I was in, all those guys were so good.
Yeah.
It's just such an incredible honor and opportunity to sing in front of those guys every night.
Yeah.
But here's the sad part to me. All those guys that were in that band, in that iteration, have all passed away.
Yeah, they're all gone now. Yeah.
And see, that's the hard part for me.
Mm.
To realize that I'm, once again, so lucky and fortunate and blessed to still be here, number one, and still be able to play with such great musicians like Mike.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't any fall off.
Yeah.
It's just different.
But it's also a testament to memory, and you're here to be able to say their names on stage.
And I'll tell you
And
something.
believe me, I took that from that show when you did that. That
And
was
I-
very
and I-
poignant.
And I really want to make this clear, because I know that there's a lot of people, really, from a lot of places in the world, that have asked me if I would like to get the Point Blank band back together again.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the way I feel about it. If you're not an original member, if there's not an original member in that band,
Yeah.
it's not.
It can't be that band.
It can't be that band.
Yeah, it has to be at least one original member still.
Exactly.
around. Yeah.
In my point of view,
Yeah.
I might do something like do a one-off where
Yeah.
it's like Bubba Keith, whoever can get together who's still playing,
Right.
and do something like that. But as far as starting another Point Blank band with
Mm.
just me in it, without any originals, never going to do it.
Yeah, it wouldn't work. Yeah, I feel you there. I can agree with that. And there's a lot of bands that'll do that. They'll just switch out their singer. Or, maybe the guitar player is still alive and nobody else is, but they can
Right.
still use that band.
Well, even if he's the original guitar player.
Mm.
But see,
Linkin Park's trying to do that right
exactly.
now. Yeah.
And the thing about it is, I want to be remembered back then when I was with those guys.
Yeah.
I mean, from that time period, that's the way I want them to remember us.
Right.
Not just me, but us, because we did something very special.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel very thankful.
What I love about it all, to be honest, to bring this to the present,
Right.
is you guys are here now.
Yes.
You're both over 70. I'm not going to say how old exactly. You guys don't have to
Yeah,
do
we're
that.
old.
But they're both over 70. Still fabulous voices. Still absolutely bringing it. But more than that, more than the musicianship and the vocalizations and the lyrics and the songwriting, the passion is so heavy here between both of y'all. Not just for each other, but for music still.
Oh, yeah.
It's so obvious and it's contagious, honestly. How does is that's just it, right? It's part of who you are. It's
Well,
built into you.
I don't know how to do anything different.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, I've always, I had a
And
car
that's why
business
you
for a
had to
long
know
time.
after 12, 13, 14 times. He was coming back eventually.
Well, I beat him down, I guess. But, you know, I don't know what life would be without being able to play music. I mean, you know, my wife is so sweet. She says, you know, you really love doing that. And I love watching you. You got to do that. You got to do it as long as you can.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing.
Here's my take on that. All artists, they were given that gift.
Yeah.
Now, if you're using that gift, you're happy.
Yep.
That's why you have that gift. Now, let's just say hypothetically, not just musicians, but painters, actors, comedians, whatever. I mean, let's just say a comedian can't find a job. Well, who will stand on the street corner to do it because he has to do it?
Mm-hmm.
It's not optional. And like the painter that's just painting. He has to do it. It's not optional.
Yep.
And the same thing with musicians. That's our gift. And the greatest joy you can have in life is use the gift that you have been given. That's how you truly find happiness.
I love to hear you say this because all that time that you were focusing on family, that passion is still there. You're just putting it off to the side for a while, but it's still there. So when you have a Mike Sauce come along,
Oh, yeah.
who's, hey, come on, come play with us. Hey, come play with us. Eventually that's going to win out because that passion is still there. It's just shelved. You're focusing on something different that's more important in your mind at that time.
Right.
But eventually that passion is going to win out and you're going to be back. You just need a Mike Sauce to make it happen sometimes.
Well, like I said, you're going to do it one way or the other.
That's right.
It's got to come out. And I'll tell you something, I think some of the most miserable people in the world try to keep that in. They try to hinder that. And say, well, I just can't do it. I can't do it. Well, yes, you can. You know, and once you do that and you let that out, kids, artists, musicians, painters, whatever, please, if you have a gift, use that gift and love it because that's the happiness you deserve and you should have. And I'm not going to preach about that no more.
And I'll tell you what, when you follow that advice, you end up with a beautiful record like The Winds of Time.
Well, thank you.
I've listened to a lot of music from both of y'all. I'm so happy that you guys did this record together. It is really that good. And I think people are going to love it out there. I hope you guys will check it out. We're also going to play the big hit, the top 40 from Point Blank that you wrote about your daughter. It's called Nicole. Tell us, take us into the room as you're writing this song.
Well, it's interesting. See, I wrote this song before I got with Point Blank. And Nicole, she's always been kind of like me, kind of outgoing and all that stuff. And the first thing I wrote on it was, oh, Nicole, my sweet Nicole. And when I started doing that, she would put on her ballet outfit. She started dancing and being very demonstrative and all that
That's
stuff.
awesome.
And then I thought, well, you know, I don't want to just write a song about a little girl. I want to write a song about my daughter as she goes through different stages of her life, not just as a teenager, maybe as a young woman, and try to give her some advice like I'm there at that time period in her life. And that's really where I kind of got the concept for that. Okay. And, you know, just once again, just keep plugging. Keep plugging.
Yeah, and it's Nicole, the top 40 hit, Billboard top 40, I believe. Congratulations on that, man. That's a huge honor that'll always have your name attached to it, and about your little girl too, which has to make it even more special.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. One of the neat things about it though is I do have to say that I've had so many people come up to me and tell me that they named their daughter after that song.
That's amazing.
And to me, that's the greatest song.
Yeah.
I mean, it's neat to have a song on the radio and all that stuff, but when somebody feels enough about it that they want to name one of their children after it. That's like saying, "Hey, I'm Uncle Bubba."
Yeah.
You know.
And this is going to be awesome. You guys are going to see this song in a completely new light. This is completely acoustic, with Mike on harmony as well, and just phenomenal guitar player. Obviously, I'm excited to show you guys this. No more talking. This is Nicole.
I hear you going through some changes. I hear your friends all turn their backs on you. Now you're hanging around with strangers. Now just be careful who you're talking to. Oh, Nicole, my sweet Nicole. Oh, Nicole, sweet, sweet Nicole. She started looking like a burnout. She looking like she just stayed up all night. And she looking like she's turned out. The way she's acting, it just ain't right now. Whoa, Nicole, my sweet Nicole. Oh, Nicole, sweet, sweet Nicole. You know she really drives me crazy. She looking like she just stayed up all night. And she looking like she's spaced out. The way she's acting, it just ain't right now. Whoa, Nicole, my sweet Nicole. Oh, Nicole, sweet, sweet Nicole. Oh, Nicole, my sweet Nicole. Oh, Nicole, sweet, sweet Nicole.
All right, so we're back once again with Bubba with Sauce, Bubba Keith Mike Sauce, and I got a few more questions for y'all. You got some more time?
Sure.
Sure.
All right, perfect. So I wanted to get into your other passion, Mike, racing.
Yeah.
So this is obviously a big thing for you too. I'm looking around. We are in his shop / studio. I guess this used to be the parts room, right?
No, this actually is I sold that building,
Okay.
and mainly because I thought I was going to retire, and I needed to have something to, in the bank for it.
that
So I
never
sold the
happens.
building.
Retirement doesn't
Yeah, I
do
know.
that.
No.
Well, I haven't yet anyway. But no, I
Where'd
got
racing come in to all
well
of this?
when we were in Japan, when my dad was stationed in Itazuki in Japan, he a bunch of the airmen wanted to they wanted a go-kart track, and they wanted to be able to build their own go-karts. So what we did was he got with the base commander, and they got us a Quonset hut and put tools in it and welders and tubing vendors, and we built go-karts, and we bought engines from the off base from the Japanese for, I mean, Hondas, Yamahas, you name it, Suzuki's, all that stuff. And we put those motorcycle engines on. And they built us a track right next to the airfield. And it was, I think, if I remember right, it was about a half a mile long. And I started it at about 7.5 years old.
Wow.
And my
What
dad
great
always
memories,
loved,
man.
my dad always loved racing, and he was into cars. And so we did that. My brother raced and my dad raced too. We all three of us, and we're all in different classes. I had a cart that had a Honda 90 motor on it with a 4-speed kind of an automatic type transmission, an automatic clutch, and they wouldn't let you shift. But all the other classes were basically direct drive. You had to push start them. And some of them were really fast. I mean, my dad's was 120 mile an hour.
Nice.
It had a 250 Yamaha engine on it. And my brother had a 125 Yamaha, and I had a 90 on it. And we got the bug. And, you know, it's really funny, but when I go racing and people see my suit, there's a little Itazuki Go-Kart Racing Association patch on my. And
That's cool.
I put that on many suits over the years, but I really got interested in racing. My brother helped me a lot, but I've been in about 420 races.
Wow.
And I've been very fortunate and very lucky. And I didn't learn it quickly, but I finally learned it. And
So a lot of comparisons between racing and music?
well, you know what? Racing is different, but I tell you what, when you're playing on stage, it's you and your guitar. When you're driving a race car, it's just you and that car.
Yeah.
And I love driving a car. Not as fast as I used to be, but I won a
Well,
lot
you
of
can still be
races.
fast, just not as accurate, perhaps.
Well, you know, I had my cataracts done recently, so now I'm ready to see into those corners. I noticed
Cataracts,
the last-
not Cadillacs.
Yeah, that's right. The funny thing is that I noticed here a couple of years ago that the straightaways were getting a lot shorter and the corners were coming up quicker.
You're not lying.
Now, granted, I was in a pretty fast car. Basically, it was what we call a Pro Mazda, and it's a formula car with a lot of horsepower and great brakes. I mean, it'll stop from 145 mile an hour, 150 mile an hour, down to nothing in just a second.
Yeah.
So pulls about 2.5 G's under braking.
Good.
And I drove those cars when I was younger, and I did fairly well with that. But as I got older here, I mean, last time I drove, in fact, Bubba came out to race out that I was out here in Crescent. We had a SCCA event out there, and I just have a ball driving the car. It's so much fun, and I'm truly, I'm blessed. I get to play guitar, I get to drive race cars. I mean,
Again,
what else
that's
can I
circular right there.
Men, he's living the life we wish we were living.
Yeah, that's true.
well, I worked hard to get to that.
That's why you got to follow his social media so we can all live vicariously.
Yeah.
Well, I sure do. I took a customer of mine racing last weekend, and he's 86 years old.
Yeah.
And he got on the podium. He finished third.
That's cool.
Wow.
And
And
I'll
that's
tell you,
really cool.
He was just elated.
See, he's still making memories, man.
Yeah.
That's what life's all about.
Well, this guy he started out as a good friend of mine who passed away a few years ago, called me and said, "Hey, can you help us with our cars?" And I said, "No, I'm not doing
Mhm.
trackside service anymore." And he beat me down. Did
He pulled a Mike Sauce on him.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I got to work on the cards, and then when our David passed away, I couldn't leave Willis, and Willis's wife kind of threatened me. She said, "You can't leave Willis," and so I didn't, and we've been racing now together about 7 or 8 years,
That's what's up.
and he's doing great.
That's
And-
awesome.
And he's 86, and I would not want to be the person that kept him from going to a race because he didn't have somebody to take care of him.
It's like I said, man, making memories, even if it's not just for yourself, it's for somebody else.
Absolutely.
That's
It's
the
great
best
fun.
place to do it. Man, both of you guys have ultimate success in the music business. You've both been signed to record deals, which means you've both done the national touring stuff. You've both done the talk shows and the radio interviews and all of the media that surrounds record releases and things like that. You've played arenas and stadiums and flatbed trailers.
Right.
And here we are, you're in your 70s and you're still making a go at this. You still have that passion level. But what's it like now, gigging now, as opposed to then? Because now you still have the same passion level. You're completely indie now. You have all that freedom, but you're still gigging.
The only thing that's difficult is loading the equipment.
I was going to say,
Everything
we
has
talked about
gotten-
that. Yeah.
I've got the amp that I have in there. I've got a Marshall cabinet from 1974 that I love. This is my favorite cabinet. I've taken everywhere with me over the years. And I've got a diesel Hagen amp, which it's a very expensive, about a $5,000 amp that I bought, and I just love it. I can't pick it up anymore. It's too heavy.
Yeah.
Right.
So now I've got the little Marshall, and I've got a little Boss Katana that I play through. And well, I just got me a new Victory. It weighs 19 pounds.
There you go.
I can pick it up.
Let's go.
So, and so it's more difficult in that thing. If we had a couple of young kids, we could play a lot.
Yeah.
But to carry our stuff and set it up and stuff, we're not in walkers yet, but who knows?
And like I said earlier, man, y'all's voices are still so clean, so smooth.
And we're blessed about that. I don't know how to say that's.
Well,
I would have not thought that.
We recently had Mike Tramp on the show. If you're familiar with White Lion, I'm sure you are,
Yeah,
from the
White Lion.
early 80s.
Yeah.
And he has re-released all of his hit songs.
Oh yeah.
And so he released one called Songs of White Lion, and then he just released another one in August called Songs of White Lion Volume
Right.
2.
Uh-huh.
And so I asked him, what was the concept behind redoing the records? Because I thought there might be some legal reason or something like that, But it wasn't. It was just because he doesn't sound like that anymore.
Right.
The way he put it to me was, I don't fuck like I was when I was 18 anymore.
Either.
So he wanted to be able to perform the songs how he was able to perform them now, rather than having the expectation of what they sounded then. My point here is that you guys sound just the same now as you did then. That's just nutso to me.
Yeah, I'm not sure we
So
sound
impressive.
exactly the same.
Well, I mean,
but
we
we kind of reinvented ourselves a bit.
Yeah.
It's simple. That's what I had. That's what I had to do. I decided we're not going to go back then. So you have to reinvent yourself to maximize your capabilities.
You get frustrated with age.
Well, I mean, we all have to deal with the reality of declining
Of course,
skills as
right.
a singer and as a drummer too. But at the same time, the main thing, keep doing it, keep practicing, keep trying, and stretch it out there. I can't sing like I used to, and it's funny that you said something. What's different about playing now?
Yeah.
And I think from my point of view, it's more of a personal point of view where, like, back in those days, it was all about me.
Yeah.
I was playing for me. And now it's like, I want to play for them.
Yeah.
And so they can become a part of what we are.
Yeah.
Not just, look how good we are. Look how
Yeah.
great look, I get in these really tight jeans, all that stuff. No. The thing about it is, we honestly care about the people that are coming to see us perform.
Mhm.
We want to make contact with them.
So
See,
it's
that's-
more of an acknowledgement of your audience than you used to have.
you want them to be a part of it on
Of
a
course.
personal level,
Yeah.
not back from row 65.
Of course, yeah.
And the thing about it is,
Goes
there's
back to the room he was talking about.
Right,
35
exactly.
people in it. Yeah.
and what that does is it gives you a whole different meaning about what you're doing, because it's just like you coming here with us. You've now become part of who we are,
Well, thank
and you can relate to that because we're talking on a personal level.
you. Right.
Now, if I was playing, let's say, in a big hall, and you're back there on row 65, we wouldn't have this chance.
I would have to Google it and YouTube an interview.
All that
and-
stuff.
Yeah.
The cool thing about it is it's about relationships.
Yeah.
And as much as I loved how people were just so kind and gracious to us back in the day, we had so many people that really liked us a lot. But let's just be honestly, we just couldn't see that many people in one day. And we put our heart into it because that's where it comes from.
Mhm.
That's where it comes from. And if it's coming from here, then it's just an intellectual exercise, or you're just showing off because you're so good.
Mhm.
But when it comes from here, they know it, they feel it, And when they do that, nothing better.
Yeah, that's a lifetime of experience that's taught you that,
Well,
and that's amazing.
Sure. Well, you also, the fact that usually it's just us two with two guitars,
Right.
just
Right.
like we're doing here.
right.
And, we've gotten really comfortable with that. And I think that there's more music in that, because I think a lot of the when you get in a band and you turn up the volume and you got a big PA and there's people out there, I think there's a lot of things that are hidden. There's nothing hidden.
Yeah, you
That's
can't
right.
hide behind that. You
That's
can't.
right.
And when you play in a rock and roll band, there's other people on the stage and they're making their contribution and their particular volume, and you got your volume, and it's I appreciate this more when we do it well. We don't always do it well, but we try to.
Yeah.
And when we do it well and we feel like we've done a good job, it's very fulfilling.
I love that.
There's a purity to it.
Of course.
There's a certain purity to it, because like you said, we got no place to hide. This is the way we sound.
Yeah.
We can't turn it up. We can't turn it down. There's not a whole bunch of effects we can
What
do.
you see is what you get.
What you see is what you get. But there's certain, like I said, there's a purity to that you can't get it any other way.
Mhm.
And anyways,
Well, we talked about the past and we talked about the present. What's the future hold for Bubba With Sauce?
well, we're already actually working on the next CD,
I figured.
and it's going to be different. I think we kind of want to go in a more personal level.
Okay.
Now, not to say the other stuff wasn't personal,
Yeah.
but
Well, I don't want to know what kind of underwear Mike wears or anything like that. So let's not go so too personal.
I don't know, and I will.
You
never
might want to
know.
ask. If you want to
I
get that on
don't
the
want
record.
to ask.
Okay, well then don't.
But anyway.
I think the direction we're going in is the same direction we've come from.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that we're, like we've got some songs that are real personal,
Mm-hmm.
and we've got some songs that we want the audience to see as something they can come in and be
Mhm.
part of.
Should we play one of those songs? A little snippet of one of those songs, Nick?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
I think I may not remember the lyrics.
Well, I know I won't.
But I think what it really boils down to is that the new stuff that we're doing, and we've got 8 or 10 songs that we're already playing when we do the duo show,
Mhm.
and it's going to be a little different than the first one. We're trying to just let this thing evolve
Is that part of
kind
the
of
reinvention?
naturally. Well, I think it is. I think I always wrote songs. Even in the progressive days, I wrote songs on the piano.
Yeah.
I just sat down at the piano and played. And now I write all the songs on guitar. I haven't written a piano song in quite a while.
Mhm.
And I'm going to go back to the piano and write a song for this.
All
CD.
right, cool.
Interesting. So even Bubba's learning stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we already started on it.
That's right. Oh, Mercy Me.
Mercy Me.
Oh yeah, it's kind of
It
cool.
started with piano.
Yeah.
So
He's kind of a schwan. It's almost like R&B influence.
Okay.
Original R&B influence.
it's close to being a gospel song.
Yeah.
I mean, it
Well,
really
the foundation of a song starting with a piano is a completely different animal
Oh, yeah.
than a guitar.
Sure.
Anyway.
Well, it is, but you know what? It's funny. All those songs I wrote years ago. I wrote a song back in 1975, I think it was. It's called Maybe Someday, and it was just our manager at the time was having trouble with his wife, and they couldn't get along, and they were breaking up. So I wrote this song called Maybe Someday that they'd get back together.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Well, he played that song. I just sat on the piano, played it, and he recorded the thing with a little cassette player, and he took it and he let this guy named Michael Maitland, who used to be the head guy at MCA.
Yeah, I was going to say
Okay.
I've heard that
Yeah.
name
And
recently.
The next
actually.
thing you know, I get a call from Chris Christian, who is Olivia Newton-John's producer, and he says, "I heard the song. I want Olivia to do the song." So he comes to my house and meets my parents. My parents put on this big dinner and stuff, and sit down and talk all about it. And I had no idea. This was long before I ever really knew anything about record deals and
Yeah,
stuff.
MCA
'Cause
was
we
a
were
big
trying
deal
to.
back then.
Oh, it was, and we were trying to get a record deal, and we thought, well, maybe if they, I get a foot in here, maybe. And I ended up talking to Olivia Newton-John on the phone,
Nice.
and we actually had set a time to have dinner together when I was out in LA with Joe. And because Joe really, I think Joe had more to do that without anything than anybody else. But anyway, but that was my first kind of, you know,
Exposure.
exposure to
what it could be.
the record business.
Yeah.
And I got this nice letter from Michael Roland Maitland was his name. And he was president of MCA then. And he said, we really like that song. We really liked it. We can probably sign you to a singles deal for that song. Well, it's a girl's song. It's not, I wrote the song, and we used to play it live, and it had all this vocals in it and synthesizers and strings and all. And it was neat to do it.
You started on the piano though?
Yeah, but started on the piano. When Joe Sherman heard it, we went in the studio and he said, "Oh, you got to put piano on this thing."
Yeah. Well,
we didn't have any piano on it when we played live because Mark was playing all the keyboards. Dan was playing. He had a C3 Hammond, and it sounded really nice, but there's no piano in it.
Mm-hmm.
So we went in there and we got on a 9-foot Steinway and
piano
played.
wasn't really a massive part of progressive rock in those days.
Well, it wasn't. Not unless you were. Yes,
that's what I liked about White Line. He
Yeah.
used piano a lot in some of his tunes.
I love piano, and
Yeah.
I'm not a good piano player. I'm a guitar player that plays piano.
Yeah.
But I like. It taught me a lot about voicing, about harmony voicing with the chords and stuff, and so I really play that. I play it more at home than I do my guitar. My guitar sits over on the.
Well, it's exciting to hear that y'all are making new things and thinking outside the box still. And so I promised that I almost did forget, but I have to ask about the lava lamp. So you guys going to have to tell me the story behind the lava lamp now.
Well, and it kind of goes with the table and the chair.
That's not true at all.
Yeah, it actually does.
Well, it does go with it.
Actually, my original was one I had from like the 70s.
Yeah.
And we didn't have big lights or anything. I thought, well, that'd be kind of interesting for people to kind of look at it.
So is this a tradition that
yes.
started way back then?
We've used this thing every single time we play, except for the one time when we didn't have any electric.
Didn't have AC. We weren't plugged in anything. That's
the only time. But I think it's kind of neat. It just kind of gives it a certain.
It's
vibe.
so funny. My wife, who came to the show where we met y'all, she came to take pictures. She really wanted to take some pictures. She goes, "I don't know what the significance is of the lava lamp."
It's laving right now.
She says, "But I know." She goes, "I know that there is significance."
Yes, there is, Grasshopper. But each one must find his own reason. I have found mine in secret.
Mm-hmm. So she made sure that the lava lamp was.
Well, that's why. It's always been part of our show.
I love that.
And anytime, I remember a couple of times people say, "Well, where's your lava lamp?" Oh, here it is. I'm putting it on there now.
Oh, yeah. So what happens if you forget it? Have you ever forgot it?
Never forgotten it.
No, we've had it at every
show.
Well, that's impressive in its own right.
That's our light show.
A lot of times it is.
Hey, I like it. And I love the fact that she pointed it out. She's like, "I don't know what the significance is, but I know it's significant." And so she made sure that she had that in the focus with y'all playing behind it at times. She had some incredible focus.
Women are always focused on little idiosyncrasies of things.
We miss so much that they don't.
Oh, I know.
It's so true.
Men do.
Guys, this has been another fabulous episode of the Boston Chris Show with Bubba Keith Mike Sauce. I appreciate you guys for hanging out and letting us come visit y'all and talk and shop in more ways than one.
Yeah.
I want to let you guys know that I know your social media is Bubba Keith and Mike Sauce on Facebook. You can find y'all there. You guys also have a webpage, which I think is bubbawithsauce.com,
That's
if
correct,
I remember correctly.
And we also have a group page on Facebook too.
Okay.
Bubba Keith and Mike Sauce.
Okay.
And thank you.
But make sure you guys check out the website. We're going to make sure there's a link in the description below. I know you can get a copy of the record there.
To download the record there, and you can see kind of what we're doing, and there's a lot of information.
Yeah, there is some archival stuff there too that you guys will want to check out from years ago. Again, thank you guys so much for having me. I appreciate y'all very much.
We appreciate you coming.
Thanks for making the drive.
Hey, y'all, this is Pauline Reese. Thanks for tuning in to the Boston Chris Show.